Now we get to definitely an Asian inspired season. That is the Amazon season that has aspects that I was like I didn't even remember that was actually there when I first watched it. And it's definitely an interesting season to look back on. Well, I definitely say certain aspects definitely have not aged well. It's definitely but the one early season is probably aged the worst, honestly. But it's a case where just because it has aged doesn't really make it still fun. Because honestly, I don't think Amazon's a great season. Honestly, as in my opinion, they dropped it out a little bit on this rewatch. But I still think it's a great season. I still think it's a very watchable season of the show. So there's definitely a lot to admire about the Amazon. Of course, it was when they actually divided the tribes by gender, which of course causes like the gender war, which has some pretty interesting stuff that happens during the season, which I'll definitely get into. And while the pretty much definitely isn't the best, it still has great moments. I think it's really when the merge starts, when the season really kicks in and gets some all-time great blindsides, all-time great moments. But of course, always let's talk about the cast, honestly. And so I'm going to start with these talking about the cast, because the cast definitely is the most important thing in any Spy season. When it comes to Ariana Show in general, like I mentioned before, the cast really is something that can make or break your season. Which is why I didn't want to talk about the cast first, honestly, and then talk about other general thoughts on the season. And it's definitely an interesting cast. Like, first, you got the first boot, Ryan, who I was like, I've got how terrible of a player he actually is. Like, he's one of the worst first boots in show's history. I'm worthy first boot. Like, Jesus, how terrible he was as a player. Again, some of those season I kind of forgot about, which I'll definitely talk about in a bit. And then we get to Janet, and there was a thing involving a granola bar that happens, which was very weird, but well, it's for fun moments. Janet's character, though, not much to say. Then Daniel, who was definitely a much better player than I actually expected. He just got the short at the stick, honestly. But it was definitely a fun presence. Joanna definitely had some questionable, weird moments, but she was still fun TV. Jean was there, honestly. And then Shauna, who was definitely one of the biggest aspects of the, making the women so hot and the sexiness of the women in season, which I will talk about in a little bit. But she was definitely a fun presence. Not a good player by any stretch, but still a fun presence. And then there was Roger, who Roger, who you can tell from the beginning was definitely going to be not a fun player to be around. And his boot episode's definitely fantastic because they did not try to hide that he was going to be the first boot. Like, they did not hide it at all that he was going to be the first boot, and it really shows. Like, oh my god, I was laughing so hard at that episode. Of course, I had the infamous like peanut butter incident, which I can all talk about in the bits, and of course, Bram Stoker's like kind of professional, where it was a na 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 na, hey, goodbye. But yeah, that was hilarious. But Roger, not the most brand presence in the world, but his real episode definitely makes up for it. Then we get to Dave, who definitely also has his fun moments as well. He definitely has a questionable gameplay, but some fun moments. Then we get to Deanna, who another old school player. That's a shame that we never see her return, honestly, because she was someone that definitely was determined for a second chance or a return at some point. Because she was definitely a great game player. She has to have some really interesting moments, good moves, and just of course some things that catch up to her, and then she ended up getting the boots. But she was playing pretty well before then. And overall, I liked him as well. I was going to say thing with Alex as well. He's the most interesting character in Will Be. He is part of a lot of the storylines of the season. He has some really fun moments as well. Again, his mindset is also incredibly memorable. And then we get to Chrissy Smith, who, again, not glad I'm actually shocked that we never see her return, honestly. And she was also known being the first deaf contestant on the show, which they on the show actually does very well with helping with the deafness and everything, which I definitely do admire. And she was also a fun person, one of the best characters of the season, honestly. All times she is kind of bitchy, but sometimes you do kind of feel bad for her, because obviously her not being well socially connected, but overall, I like Christy as well. And also, it's ending with Heidi as well. I actually enjoyed Heidi so much more on the rewatch. Not say I did enjoy Heidi before, but again, and that one was shocked we never saw her return, honestly, because she was definitely a great player. She actually had some surprisingly decent moments of touch gameplay. And of course, her friendship with Jenna was definitely a highlight of the season. Again, another player that, again, I'll get to that in a bit. Then we get to the final four, where we get Butch. We get Butch, who was a little under-edited than I actually expected, honestly. But I still like Butch, honestly. Not much negative, not much, like, hugely positive I can say, but nothing negative either. He was just fine. He has some fun moments, but not much really to say about Butch, honestly. And of course, you cannot talk about the Amazon without talking about the fucking goddamn Rob sister Nino. Like, I mean, this guy's a fucking legend. Like, do I even need to talk about this guy? He's still known for being the best player to ever win, and for goddamn good reason. I mean, the guy was a game-changing player at his time. Like, this was a time when his gameplay wasn't really like, truly revolutionary, but he made some moves that pretty much well is now is more on the monitor. They were seeing constantly every season. Some aspects he did, but by constantly flipping back and forth and maneuver and this and that, like, it's pretty impressive. This is also the first instance where basically the swing vote, the one that was supposed to be swing votes, ended up getting voted out with Christie, and Rob was kind of like centuries off that move. Not mention he's just a fantastic character, has so many corporate professionals. One last again, that Roger Finch I mentioned was great TV. He was just a great guy to see it around. Again, it is disappointing. I would say that as we watch, it's a little disappointing that he didn't come to win this season. He does come one of those up to those final jurors that was like so goddamn close. So close. But he just failed. Which is probably why they decided to go to the final 3 later seasons, and also why in much later seasons they went for the 5-4 man making, but we'll get there when we get there, obviously. Yeah, Rob easily is the best part of the season. He easily is the star of the show this season. And there's a reason why he's still remembered to this day, honestly. I mean, well, people hold him for his like podcast. That's 14 years now. Like, 14 years that he did his podcast. That's insane. Yeah, Rob says, top tier character, top tier player. What else can I say? And then we get to the runner-up in Matthew, who I never actually know how I actually felt about Matthew, but I can say I actually enjoyed him this time around, actually. Like, he definitely had some pretty odd moments and some weird confessional, especially with the whole machete scene, but overall, I like Matthew. I don't think they're going to win, but I don't think he's one of my favorite runner-ups, but I liked him as well. And then we get to the winner in Jenna, who, wow. I totally thought, like, maybe because it's been a while since I actually watched the mini seasons or remember certain aspects. Again, that's probably why I decided to do this rewatch series. But I totally forgot and blanked that Jenna had a much more negative edit than I remembered. I think it's a lot more negative edit than I remember. Like usually a lot of winners which you see very positively. I think Brian was done positive to an extent that was more on gameplay than him as a person. But Jenna, she really wasn't at a lot of points. Like, she definitely had some positive moments. I'm not saying she was void of that. But she's doing a lot of like negative content. Her being like bratty, whiny, and not playing very well, and having some questionable moments. And of course, her infamous moment in the final fight where she was going to quit the game or ask to be voted out. Yet somehow she ended up getting immunity, and ended up winning the season. Like, that was very weird, honestly, and very oddly edited, if I'm being honest. But I was having to enjoy it, Jenna, honestly. Obviously, my opinion did went down on her a little bit on this rewatch. Not that I did enjoy her, but like I said, she kept me a little whiny at times, and she's definitely not played the best at times, honestly, but I still enjoy Jenna, honestly. I mean, her win is kind of a bit disappointing, considering we got Rob Sicilian on the season, but no, it's not like ruin the season or anything. It doesn't like bring the season down, honestly, but yeah, it is a bit disappointing, honestly, but I'm okay with it, honestly, and it's fortunate we now actually saw her make another return after All Stars. Because honestly, I think her making another return, honestly, would be a great storyline, honestly. Like, I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks that, but I think that would be a great storyline for her to return on this future season. And prove that she actually can be a great player and win, honestly. But yeah, I'm really surprised at how much of a negative edit she actually got, and I remembered. It was probably the most negative edit up to this point, honestly. But the cast overall is pretty solid, honestly. A couple duds, but still pretty solid. And of course, there's the whole like men versus women aspect, and that brings us to the thing that makes the season very age. And I totally forgot how fucking horny this season is. Like, I know you don't say that honestly on this channel, but look, I don't usually like say that stuff on this channel, honestly. But yeah, I totally forgot a lot of that stuff, honestly. Honestly, of course, this is interesting three, honestly, and you see a lot of times women just fantasize, men just really fantasize about women's bodies and the boot, and all this stuff about their bodies, and you get like long scenes of, and you get like long shot scenes of the women just like showering and being sexy and taking their bras off and everything, like. It's not like a bad thing I'm saying about the season, honestly. It's just a very hilarious aspect of this season that I totally blanked on, honestly. But there's like some pretty hilarious ones. Of course, you got the infamous moment at the first immediate challenge in the merge, where basically Jen and Heidi had to strip down for peanut butter and chocolate. Like, that's the. Like, again, I like just thinking about that scene, honestly, and it's pretty hilarious moments. And that really, but it does kind of add to the datiness, how the dated the season can be, because again, that's stuff that probably wouldn't fly nowadays, honestly. But yeah, like it's not just thinking about how much more of those true scenes that you get in this season. Like, it's kind of hilarious if you really think about it. And also, now what else I can say about this season? I mean, the Yellowstone looks pretty nice, honestly. Again, this boy really natural cinematography and nailed also. That's why also Jeff Probst really nails, gets a good charisma he gets as a host, and gets some really fun Jeff Probst one-liners and moments here throughout the season. Like, they do get some awesome great blindsides here, particularly the Dina, Alex, and Christy boots are three of the best blindsides in history, and all of them on a fucking row. Again, all of them really involving Rob Destiny, honestly, where Rob got involved with Dina blindside, he then got involved with Alex blindside, where he blindsided Jenna and Heidi, and was able to get back on board to vote out Christy, who, was the first incident of the swing votes ended up being voted out. Which, well, it's definitely not a level of common occurrence nowadays. It definitely was a surprising thing to see this happen the first time. And it was also the first time where someone actually gave up immunity, where Jenna won me that round and she gave it to Heidi. I think, looking at myself, for my opinion, they started to weigh down a little bit, but just not by a lot, honestly, not like a huge amount. Like, definitely are a couple seasons that happen that, but we'll get there and get there. But this is one season where I was definitely a little bit high. Like, I was definitely a little bit more high up, but I think it might be just about just a teensy weensy bit. I mean, it was because, again, like I said, while I didn't hurt the season, I'm still disappointed that Jen ended up winning the season, and some aspects do drag a little bit more towards from the pre-merge. Again, like I said, got a couple dots with Gene and Janet, but overall, I still think it's a great season of Survivor. It was definitely a classic for a goddamn reason. And even despite the dating aspect, there's still a lot to appreciate about the Amazon. So I had to be worried I wanted to get this. So in the end, I am going to give Survivor, the Amazon, a 9.25 out of 10. Do I even need to talk about Pearl Islands? No, I'm serious. I'm not saying it's a bad. It's not like Thailand where I just say, oh, Joy needs to help terrible this season. This is a case like, do I even need to mention that Pearl Islands is an amazing season? Do I even need to go into detail why the season's so amazing? Because I think every Survivor fan knows that Pearl Islands is a top tier season. It is the best season of the classic era. So I rewatched the season last year because it ended up turning 20 last year, and I ended up watching it again for this series, and Pearl Islands is an endlessly watchable season where it actually has bumped up a lot higher on my ranking, honestly. But again, do I even need to talk about that Pearl Islands amazing season? Because, well, it is. I'm sorry to say that, but Pearl Islands is an incredible season. Like, I think I'm just not going to talk about much this season because what is there to say about it? I mean, it's an incredible season, one of the best casts in the show's history. The pilot team is used amazingly and used effectively in the challenges. You got a pretty strong cast with Nicole, even some early boots with Nicole, Ryanez, Michelle, Trish, Sean. You got the first ever queer Austin, where of course Jeff Probst kind of like beat him towards up. He actually a mean Jeff Probst where he kind of braised him for it. You got Savage, Ryan O, Tijuana, Krista, Burton, Dara, Lil, and somehow begging about out third ends and make it to the end with the Outcast twist, which, while controversial and kind of screws up a couple players, was definitely great TV. And you get three of the most iconic players in the show's history. Like, you got like freaking Rupert, who is, in my opinion, still the best, basically one of the players that's the best character in the show's history. Like, he was definitely a character, like, and still is a character like no other we have seen up to this point in Survivor. Like, he is iconic for a goddamn reason. He is just fantastic television, has so many one-liners, and his blast is just incredible. Then got Johnny Fairplay. Well, despite Jeff Probst's kind of hatred towards him, he ends up playing a fantastic character with the iconic grandma line that takes what Rob Cesternino did and just embraces it more honestly, and has such a great epic downfall. Again, that grandma line is still one of the best moments in the show's history. I don't think I need to say more about that moment. And of course, you got the Queen herself, the first appearance of Sandra, who was a player I never really know how to feel about honestly, mostly because of how many appearances she's been on Survivor at this point, but I didn't get to think about it. I've definitely grown more on Sandra, honestly. Definitely some appearances definitely better than others, but I think honestly, no matter what, Sandra is always going to be an iconic character. She has so many times, like, of course, she got iconic, I can get love too! And of course, there has the iconic anybody but me strategy, which is basically kind of her staple at this point. Like, see what Joelle was Sandra now, how she is nowadays. And as I'm filming this, she's actually back competing on the latest season of The Traitors. She was always going to make for iconic television. And this season, first season, proves that. And she was definitely a deserving win. Definitely an obvious win because I don't think anybody was going to love her up to Tijuana, but she's definitely a great winner, honestly. And she's definitely the Queen of Survivor for a reason. Well, I will start saying she's definitely a bit overhyped on that aspect, which I'll definitely get into. We'll talk about her later appearances. Sandra, no matter what, is always going to be great TV and AC this gun. She was definitely one of the better parts of Game Changers, and she definitely was a huge highlight in the time of Winners of War. Hell, I liked her when she appeared on Australia's Fire Bloodless Water with her daughter. Yeah, but I'm not going to talk about much, but again, I wouldn't get to say why Pearl Island is an amazing season. It has some of the best moments in the show's history, so many iconic moments, so many high moments. It's easily the best season era. It easily gets a 10 out of 10. Like, what you need to talk about this season? I'm sorry I keep saying that, but some seasons are praiseworthy for a reason. And I don't think I'm going to add any more conversation of why Pearl Islands is one of the best seasons in Survivor history. It definitely is the best season up to this point. And now we get to a Survivor season why I actually do have a lot to talk about this season. And season that definitely is that the biggest up down trajectory, honestly, on Survivor, or on the fan face feels about it, and that is Survivor All-Stars. Oh boy, dude, this is definitely what we interested want to talk about, that's for sure. A season that definitely was definitely hyped up when it came out. I mean, it was the first time we have witnessed a returning player season. We see some of the biggest players and some of the big names from the last 7 seasons actually make a return to the island to try to prove themselves, to try to win Survivor. And while not every choice, and while you do get a couple questionable choices, which we're actually getting into, this was definitely a cast that, yeah, feels like the right players for an all-star cast. Honestly. Again, it was so hyped when we had an actual returning player season. I was so happy to see some of the big names. This is also the first time where we see 3 tribes, which, well, unfortunately, and really unfortunately, it's kind of the main scenario. It's like I wish they got 2 tribes, honestly. Like, why 3 tribes still? But we'll get into talk about those seasons. But this is the first time where we actually saw 3 tribes, which I think for this cast kind of makes sense. I mean, got some big names, honestly, for last season. I mean, from Borneo, you got Jenna Lewis, who, one of the most interesting characters, well, I don't think she was also worthy. I think the reason why it's not a case when they wanted to get certain players back, but they weren't able to. So, Diva Jen's legacy does break up this season. Honestly, we got Jenna Lewis, we got Richard Hatch, the first winner, we got Rudy Botch, Sue Hawk, we got Tina Weston, Colby Donaldson, Jerry Manty, Alicia. I'm not blowing my own big bets. I don't want Alicia, honestly. I mean, got Ethan Zahn, Tom, Lex, 3 of the big names from Africa. Got Boston Rob, who, by the way, weird that 10th place finisher was an all-star. He was definitely one of the best characters. I also got Amber from Australian Outback, who was definitely one of the more questionable choices, but again, I'll talk about them when we get to that. Australian Outback really has a lot of people return on, so like, I can say Australian Outback was a. Anyway. And also got Kathy returning. I mean, you only got like 1 person from Thailand, that's Sheehan, but that's because nobody. It's because, you know, it's Thailand. Eels got like General Mogaster and Rob Cesternino, one of the best personnel win return. And you only got the one person per lounge is Rupert. Because I think they want Sandra back, but I mean, due to something that happened per lounge, she ended up returning. But this is a stacked cat. Of course, you got a couple players that are like, really? These players returning? But you know, that happens. I'm not like beating too much about it, but that's because obviously they probably were one certain players, but they probably weren't able to get those players. Because at least that's what happened most of the time on Survivor, at least. So, there are different sessions, but again, we'll get there, we'll get there. We'll get there. When we get there. Yeah. And but the reason why All Stars is definitely an interesting season to talk about, honestly, is because this is probably one of the darkest seasons in the show's history. Like, a lot of the rawness and the realness of this season is pretty interesting to see from a Survivor season. But unfortunately, it doesn't make for a fun experience. Like, you can clearly tell that none of these players are having like, any fun during this season. And that's because a lot of the pre-gaming that happens that ends up causing a lot of the major things that happen throughout this season. And while this definitely boosts up someone's legacy as one of the best players in the show's history, or the best player up to this point, it definitely does some very ickiness at points. And this is my first time watching these seasons since when I first got into Survivor. And again, I started watching Survivor in 2008, so I remember being like super high on All Stars, honestly. I remember being super high on this season, so I wasn't sure how my opinion was going to feel when you watch. So, what are my overall thoughts on All Stars? What are my overall take on this season? Overall, I think it's fine, honestly. Again, this season definitely has gone down for a lot of people, especially when you know what happened and all those behind the scenes stuff that happens. That's still debated and talked about to this very day. I'll give it that, but man, the season was. I thought it was kind of hard to get through, honestly, mostly because of those elements. Because it kind of makes it kind of just after a while, it leads to some very emotional raw moments and a couple moments that are probably some of the best moments in Survivor history. And probably one of the best final travels in the show's history. I'm not gonna deny that. There are some top tier moments that happened this season. It also gave birth to one probably the best reality TV show romance in the show's history. Again, when it comes to pacing or just how the thing was presented, and all the pre-gaming that led to a lot of those moments, it doesn't make for them much fun of a watch, honestly. It's why I do appreciate some elements here. Why I want to say it's like a bottom tier Survivor season. It definitely is not that great of a season, being honest. But before let's talk about the cast itself, and I'm actually going to talk about the main couple that I mentioned, because they're probably all the big selling point of this season. Now, the big interesting element of this season, that is, of course, and that is Amber Brooke and Boston Rob and Mario. Again, Boston Rob was already a huge player from my cases, honestly. I think this season, though, really cemented Boston Rob as like a top tier player. As like the best player to never win Survivor, as like a huge player on the show. What spent him as a legend of the show. And for good reason, honestly. Despite his ickiness at points, he was still a likable, fun presence throughout. He still has a lot of the great stuff that you love behind my cases, and there's some elements that do, again, cement him as being an all-time great player by making some great moves, by having probably displaying the biggest dominant game in the show's history up to this point, honestly, where maybe it's at one point in the Final 5, even the Final 4, and maybe Final 4, there wasn't any point in the season where Boston Rob was in any danger, which is pretty impressive, honestly. But he makes some pretty interesting moves, again, he made that move, where basically led to he ended up making that move that basically led to basically the ickiness and some of the raw emotion, which I won't get into. I think that's going to be its own thing to talk about. But he's just a fantastic character. I think no matter what, Boston Rob is always going to be a pretty present on the season. Like, he doesn't, I mean, he's coming on that Deal No Deal Island season. He honestly proves that no matter what he's on, Boston Rob is always going to be a great character on any season that he's in. Whether he's on there for a little bit or a lot, he's always going to be a fantastic TV. And he proves that here, honestly. Again, he plays probably the best game up to this point, honestly. Which, of course, lets the whole bit of joy, which, as to why I think Boston Rob is a fantastic game player, even I can he's not perfect in it. But Boston Rob, in this season, is the definition on how to have terrible jury management. He's one of the first display, not only is he the first display of having an actual bit of jury, there's also a display of the first instant that Boss Rob really handled the jury terribly this season, which kind of what led to basically his loss. Most of how he treated certain people, how he did to certain people, mostly Sheehan, Alicia, and Lex, obviously Lex, and even Kathy and Tom. A lot of stuff kind of ended up leading to a loss, and they ended up winning Amber to win. And let's talk about Amber for a second, honestly. And I enjoyed Amber on this season, honestly. I think my opinion went down on her a little bit on this season, because I don't think she's like the most interesting character in the world, but honestly, I think there's an aspect I think she does a lot better here, grateful, honestly. And well, it's probably not that, yeah, I think Boss Rob should have won this season, obviously, but that's kind of what Boss Rob's doing. At least I'm more understanding to why she did end up winning the season. And of course, this led to Boss Rob and Amber developing the romance they have, which 20 years later, by the way, is still going. They end up meeting here, falling in love, having some great moments together, like that. They end the 5-5 round still amazing moments. They end up making final 2 together, where Boss Rob proposes to Amber. And again, they're still together to this very day, where they have like 4 fucking kids together. Again, they're still together to this day. They are still together to this very day. So it definitely is the most well-known reality romance for a goddamn reason. I will say there's some aspects that do make the season kind of boring in some moments, which I'll get into in a little bit. They're definitely all at the same time the highlight of the season because of the love story they have, the love they have for each other, and just the many great moments they shared in the season. So yeah, they're definitely all a highlight of this season. But let's quick talk about the other players because some actually don't have much to say about it, honestly. Of course, this season also had like 2 notable quits that happened this season. You got the third one with Jen Magessa, who ended up regretting not being on this season because of her dead mom. Which it honestly is a very emotional moment, honestly. Especially when they revealed the 8 days for mom to pass away, which I'm still having a tear about that moment, honestly. And then there's Sue Hawk, which is another instance that Survivor was incompetent at handling certain things even before Island of the Idols. Because like, I did mention that whole Tenkani thing in Thailand. They got into where basically Richard Hatch ended up rubbing him, and was unintentional or not, rubbing himself on Sue because he was naked, because that's kind of Richard's thing. Sue ended up being pretty upset about it, and they ended up treating very oddly and weirdly, kind of make her seem a little bit crazy, which led to her quitting the season, which was, again, very odd, honestly, and it makes the episode that I'm just like, yeah. It was very, yeah, definitely definition uncomfortable. Again, I'll place it. I don't have much to Tina this season, who was the first boot, then the second boot in Rudy. Robin hand down having it before early, but that's kind of noble. Richard Hatch kind of bamboozled this season. You get Cole Dawson's downfall on his blind side. You guys got Ethan Zahn being the winner that's making the forest, but end up being voted out here. Got Jerry Manti being Jerry Manti. This was a time where she was still the most hated player. So even as a reunion show, she ended up getting booed. Thank God not that anymore. Thank God on that. And of course, her jumping house was very interesting as well, which I'll get into. And then you got like Kathy, who has a great interesting role in her season. Alicia, well, was kind of there, honestly. Big Thomas was kind of there. Sheehan definitely had a good role in this season. Rupert still Rupert. Jenna Lewis definitely had her legacy up. Rose up a little bit on this season, honestly. I really like Jenna Lewis, but I think her legacy rose up a bit on this season. And of course, I'm talking about Lex, who was the 9th place finisher. That's of course I'm talking about him for last because, again, he basically is what led to basically the wrong emotion that ends up kind of plaguing this season. Honestly, of course, you got the moment basically we got the tribe swap, and everyone but Amber ended up watching. Everyone pretty much but Amber ended up swapping to the tribe with Jerry, Lex, Kathy, and Sheehan. And most of knowing that she was going to get voted out because you get there kind of like, take care of her, I'll take care of you, if you can. One of the most iconic lines in the show's history. A very iconic line that leads to a lot of interesting stuff. But honestly, what do you debate whether Boss Rob actually was going to? Like, I'm not. There's still a lot of debate apparently whether Boss Rob actually, really was going to keep his deal legs, but decided to back up last minute, or he wasn't going to, and whether or not. It was definitely, either way, it definitely some interesting moments where they end up throwing out Jerry episode where Mike says wholeheartedly he regrets doing that. That Pastor goes back on his deal, then it's like, you betrayed me, I thought we were friends! Like, you my friends, you stole all your friends for a bag of green bucks. And of course the iconic moment is that Lex was kind of a hypocrite on this moment because he kind of did the same thing to Ethan and Colby in the previous episodes, where he was kind of like that to them, yet because Boss Rom did it to him, he's upset about it. Of course, he likes to say that it was different, but it's kind of the same thing, honestly. It's not hard to notice that. Which again led to that final bit of Tribal Council, which I will say it's definitely one of the best final trials in the show's history. I won't deny that, because again, more people that complain about videos at times, more so on Big Brother than anything, but sometimes it can make for excellent TV, and this season proves that they can make for epic TV. With a lot of big jury speeches, a lot of the back and forths throughout. People just really bashing at Boston Rob. And again, his jury management skills are terrible, and this, like I said, this is the definition of how not to handle the jury on this season, which for a longest time I was like, why in the hell Boston Rob didn't win? Like, why in the hell they voted Amber? I think after rewatching this season, rewatching the Tribal Council, yeah, I can see why. I can see why. I mean, that moment's kind of double-edged sword to while it does lead to one of the most raw and emotional moments in the show's history, and I'm all for that, honestly, truly. I think Survivor was, like, truthfully, I think Survivor was one of its absolute best when it displays, like, true human emotion, and plays characters that are the most human and genuine. And that's when Survivor was at its best, in my opinion, honestly. Those are some of my usual favorite moments in the show's history. It's when they actually reach that. At the same time, considering all the stuff that happens, it's more so the execution and how it happens. Just basically just kind of uncomfortable in a way, honestly, to watch. And then I imagine, like, after that moment, the scene kind of just dips the last few episodes where not much really happens. Like the Kathy brought up, like, whatever. The Alicia was just okay. Shannon was kind of boring, honestly, sorry for the loved one visits. I think just pick up a little bit with the Big Tom episode where basically Boss Rom had to win a car. Big Amber, she won a car. They were originally going to talk like Boss Rom and Amber, but Boss Rom actually convinces Big Tom to go against Jen and Rupert, and then they end up blindsiding Big Tom, which, yeah, and get an okay final 4 round, and then an okay final meet with John, honestly. Like, yeah, sometimes the pacing does kind of feel all over the place at times, honestly. And the pretty much just doubles kind of fun, honestly. We do get some fun back and forth. I could get the iconic, like, Rupert building an underground shelter moment, which led to some pretty hilarious moments. And great back and forth between him and Jerry, honestly. It's not void of fun moments, I'm not saying that. But it is kind of, in a way, still void of that, because again, the darkness really does play the season in a lot of areas where it doesn't make it the most rewatchable or fun season to watch. Watching, and some watch it just to have fun, honestly, and I'm saying like that, but that's kind of true, honestly. So, like I said, Survivor is at its best when it develops more of the human, genuine moments. But in the case that while it does have those moments, it does kind of bring the season down, having this like dark tone throughout, and sometimes it doesn't make for an interesting, fun watch. Like. But yeah, overall, I think All Stars is probably just fine, honestly. Like, I don't think it's a terrible season. I don't think it's like gonna be at the huge bottom of the barrel seasons of the show, honestly. But this is one of the few seasons on this rewatch. Well, my opinion did actually drop a bit on this rewatch. So I don't think it's gonna be like a huge, be in my bottom 5, bottom 10, honestly. It's definitely a season that I'm not gonna ever come back to, honestly, because of the dark tone. And while it does have like one of the best, shows that Boss Drop is an incredible player and one of the best to ever play the game, honestly. And you do have some good moments throughout the season in a great final Tribal Council. You do have some great moments throughout. But that tone really sets the mood, just nobody getting into. So, all in all, I am going to give Survivor All Stars a 5.5 out of 10. Now we get to Season 9, Survivor Vanuatu, which Looking back on it was definitely an interesting season. Like, it was actually my first time fully rewatching these seasons, honestly. And the reason I started to is because I really did not do a full rewatch on all shows. Like, I would watch some episodes or some moments, but not like whole seasons. If I watched two seasons, I wasn't sure how I was actually going to feel afterwards. The Red One 2, I think, is definitely an interesting season one. But I still it's definitely one of those seasons that, when it first came out, wasn't received well at all. Most of the characters that came after All Stars, which obviously was kind of loved at the time, but not so much nowadays. Red One 2 was kind of very negative received, most because they bring back the men versus women thing again, and having not the most interesting pre-merge or the most interesting characters in the pre-merge. We'll definitely get into that. But I feel as time But I feel like definitely as time went on, along with one season we'll get into, it's one of those seasons that I think that the more time has gone with the season, the more I feel has aged, the more I feel people have gone to really accept it for being a good season, for being an underrated season. And I wholeheartedly agree on that. But I don't think Vanuatu is probably one of the best Survivor seasons out there. I wouldn't put it in the top tier echelon on Survivor, honestly. But there's definitely a lot to appreciate about Vanuatu, honestly. And it has probably some of the best stretches of gameplay and episodes in any portion of Survivor. First out, the whole thing about being on the Islands of Fire, which I think which honestly, the scenery itself is just breathtaking, beautiful. Like, I miss what I didn't realize when we were watching season that man had made it went like I didn't realize that when we were watching this show. I was like, I miss when Survivor used to do like very diverse locations. Like, while I definitely do understand why they would go for Fiji and everything, especially because it also is very cheap, less money and everything. I really miss when Survivor used to have like very diverse locations. Locations that were like unique and makes the season stand out a little bit more. And that's definitely the case with Vanuatu, because it is on Islands of Fire, where you see a lot of shots of volcanoes, a lot of shots of interesting things to see from that Vanuatu landscape and everything, which makes some moments just so beautiful and breathtaking to watch. And again, I'm just going to part with the biggest issue with this season right away, honestly, and that is the pre-merge itself. Well, I don't think the pre-merge is as bad as some make it out to be, honestly. It definitely is probably the thing that does bring the season down a bit, honestly. Mostly because it has some, not, like, while it does have some great pre-merge moments, honestly, especially the second episode, which I'll get into. I think it's more comes down to the cast, the pre-merge character. Like, it does have, like, this season has probably some of the most forgettable pre-merge characters ever, or pre-merge players ever. Like, I'm pretty sure no one remembers who Brooke is, who John P is, who John K is, or who Brady is. I'm pretty sure no one remembers, like, who, anything about Mia or Lisa. Let's say Dolly or Travis or Bubba are probably the only people that actually are memorable in the pre-merge. And I know most people think that, honestly. Also, after found that knows a little stuff here for some reason, so I do apologize for the weird voice. Just to give a heads up. And with Travis was definitely just a fun character that ended up getting swap screwed. And Dolly, to what made her the most interesting character, honestly, still. She's memorable being a non-instance of she's the case of a non-instance basically the swing vote that ends up getting voted out. So while they'll definitely remember most of them pretty much also like you mentioned with the Dolly boot, the whole Mia blindside as well, Rory being Rory, again the whole thing with Chris, the winner of the season, could have easily been the first one voted out, but ended up getting saved by the old men, which I'll definitely touch a lot about that later. So that pretty much is just fine. It's just there. So I think if I were to go season, I think I'll probably just skip to the merge, honestly. The one that honestly episodes that aren't boring or anything, they're just not interesting. And it has some, again, it does have some good moments, but not enough to really save it. That's what I'm trying to say. I think the merge one season really kicks in high gear, honestly. Also, to while we do get a swing of votes where basically the men get picked off one by one, there's still some good moments, some good gameplay, and some good back and forth between all these characters that does make it salvageable. It's really the final 7 onwards, though, is when the season really kicks in high gear. And you get an incredible gameplay with Chris laughing and standing, basically means you get 2 people that are considered enemies throughout most of the season to end up turning on each other, which makes for some pretty interesting gameplay, and I found that around as one of the most oh my god moments in the show's history. Like, I totally forgot how incredible that moment actually was until I rewatched the actual season. he still has a great moments gameplay, some great back and forth, some other good blind sides, and an epic final trouble, which I'll get into. But I think we should talk about the other 10 main players, because again, other than Donnie and Travis, there's not really much to say about the other pretty much players, honestly. Of course, we got Rory, who I think is an all-time great character, who definitely is not likable presence, but still a fun presence throughout. Leah has some really good moments, has a great back and forth throughout, especially when he, obviously, he's the one that kind of saved Chris in the first episode. Chad, who has been probably one of the first player in the show to close more enough being the first player to compete with a prosthetic leg. Didn't really anything he actually does, but he was still a fun presence. Again, Leanne, she was also pretty solid as well. Again, not much to say about her, but she was still fun, honestly, throughout. They got the Ice Queen herself, Amy, who is definitely a great villain, who definitely was so fun to watch, so entertaining, and had such an incredible epic downfall. And that's what you get for being too cocky, honestly. That's what you get for being too goddamn cocky. And then we get to Julie Berry, a contestant that's so beautiful and so smoking that Jeff Probst ended up dating her for 4 years after the season. So Jeff ends up beating Chris up for it at the reunion show for blowing him out. Blowing her out. Yeah. But Julie was also fun present. I got how much I actually enjoyed her this time around, actually. To which she definitely is a fun presence, has a good storyline throughout, has some great relationships throughout, and actually was pretty well mostly throughout, honestly. And then we get to Eliza, who I will say honestly, I'm not. There's one archetype reality show that I'm not huge. It's called the Mean Girl archetype, was because at the worst they get, pretty annoying, and if they take a lot of screen time, it can be like fairly just, okay, we get you're just bitchy and everything. Like, it's more so how they're portrayed, and it's one of the only Mean Girls that I actually really enjoy, actually. Because she does bring a lot of fun presence, a lot of great back and forth, some pretty fights professionals, some pretty great fights throughout, especially with Twyla. She's a very fun character and presence throughout, and again, her blind side's pretty fun as well. Then we get to Scout, who is also one of the most likable people on this season. Again, it's kind of a shame she not ends up returning, honestly, but she was definitely a great presence throughout. Again, some probably also probably could beat Chris if she was at the end, honestly. And then we get to the final two themselves. Then we have Twyla, who, again, it's a shame that Twyla never actually make a return on the future season, because I think she was someone that actually had a lot of potential on the return. But she was just a great fiery character that has so many fun back and forth, so many insane, crazy moments, who fight with people, especially with Eliza, who trained that person. And of course, Chris actually facing that she trying to apologize for this and that, which will lead to a lot of crazy moments throughout. But yeah, Tyler, fun presence. But of course, we are going to talk about Chris Daughtry, who's part of the play I'm actually most excited to talk about when we watch it, but I want to. And I've always loved Chris on this season, but I think my opinion really shot up after this rewatch. I think he's definitely in the top tier winner, honestly. Because I've always loved the guy, honestly, but again, I don't know why in this rewatch, I just ended up appreciating him so much more, honestly. Again, he was someone that is part of the definition of the first true underdog winner of Survivor. Who was someone that honestly could have been the first boo of the season because he couldn't get off a balance beam. But then he was part of the easy success in boots, but he had to be saved and he ends up being in a great position for a majority pretty much. And of course he was only the last guy standing in the final 7. And when he ended up losing the final media challenge, you'd think he was gonna be good and gone, honestly. But no! Because he ends up pulling in Twyla and Scout, and even Eliza, who married Twyla to hate each other, by the way, to pull in an epic 4-3 votes that nobody saw coming. Like I said before, I don't know how incredible that move is until I watched the season. Then he ended up getting the Ice Cream Amy next, and even when Chris lost to me in the final 5, they still kept him around. That's because Chris is also the definition of how to play a great social game. So when you have a great social game, you basically have a good chance of making it fall, even when you probably feel like you should be the obvious target. Those are even the best players and winners, in my opinion, and Chris is no exception on that role. No, he's just a very likable presence. Yeah, she can be maybe a little bit cocky at times, but it's the fun cockiness that I enjoy. And he has a pretty good story throughout. He'll be the last man standing and everything. And he also gives an epic final trial performance to where he does something I'm surprised none of the winners people don't really think about. Yeah, he just sucks up to the jury. He just says what they want to. He knows what they want to hear, and that's what happened to win the 5-2 votes. And that's why a lot of players don't really think that strategy often, honestly, if you really think about it. But yeah, Chris went definitely in general. Chris's story and run definitely elevates this season. You know, everything from the final storm onwards is just top tier Survivor, from the blind side to the fights, to the epic moments, the top house performance. It's just incredible TV. So, well, again, the pretty much is part of the thing that does bring the season down a bit, honestly. I still have a soft spot for want to. I still have a soft spot for this season. I'm happy I do appreciate so much more than I did. Again, pretty much probably the only thing that does really hold the season back for me is absolute top tier. So in the end, I'm going to give Survivor Fate I Want to, Hounds of Fire, a 9 out of 10. And now we get to the 10th season of the show, Survivor Palau. Palau, definitely an interesting season, that's for sure. Like, yeah, definitely an interesting season. The show. Again, I wasn't sure how I was going to view up Palau after we watched, because it's the one season I really didn't go back to often. Of course, there's definitely a lot of memories about Palau, but I wasn't sure how I really was going to feel about it. But, hey, huh? So pause it. Well, again, I'm not sure I would put it in top tier. I would say it's probably close to that top tier, honestly. Because Palau, I think it's a great season of the show. Like, this was the first season to actually have 20 contestants, which, okay, around that time was definitely surprising. This was the first time that we had 20 players. You know, had that weird thing where basically in here they selected 2 tribes, and basically the people that were not chosen were immediately eliminated, which Johnson and Wanda, which, yeah, didn't really get us actually like do much of anything. So yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. I'm not sure how well they have done anyway, but yeah, 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 yeah. And that season also has some pretty beautiful scenery, a pretty great location, well, I guess for actual Palau, which has some pretty beautiful sequences and some pretty breathtaking camera shots at points. But of course, let's get to what is this season most memorable for, and that is the destruction of the Oolong tribe. Which is the thing I think everyone knows the most about this season is the destruction of that tribe. And there's a good reason why that thing is definitely the most memorable thing about this season, because it is an interesting storyline having one tribe that just doesn't win any immediate challenge ever. Like, the only time that the other tribes are losing something is the whole thing where they have both tribes go to tribal council. But other than that, pretty much no tribe goes to tribal council. Their tribe doesn't even go to tribal council and winning every immediate challenge in the tribe of Oolong, and they're going to every single fucking tribal council. Which is insane, honestly. And which, to this day, Oolong is still probably the worst performing tribe in the show's history. I mean, while they went with a few more challenges, they didn't have any immunity. Not at all. It does make for a very compelling, like, seeing the tribe still lose, but at least you got a multi-star cast. Like, there are a couple of good players I'm pretty sure nobody remembers who Ashley is, who was the second brother of Oolong. Like, I'm pretty sure nobody remembers who she is, honestly. I told her played who she was, and for good reason. And maybe Kim's also not the most interesting character either, but everyone else, I thought that's really. Jolanda had an interesting thing, which was kind of later, but ended up being the first boots. Jeff was someone that could have actually done pretty well, but of course, ended up getting injured, and the master tried to vote him out. Angie had some pretty surprisingly fun moments, and was actually playing pretty well, actually. Then you had James Miller, who is probably one of the most underrated famous characters ever. Like, I didn't forget how great James was as a character. We had some pretty hilarious one-liners, some big moments throughout. And then there was Ibrahim, who can be a bit boring at times, but he at least has his moments. Then, of course, you got the 2 left ones. First, you got Bobby John, who definitely, I think says a bit more honestly Guatemala, but he does have his good moments. He does have his great back and forths and great moments from a lot of players throughout. And of course, we got Stephanie Lagrosa, who, of course, is now up to this point, which got GP next season Guatemala, which finished second, and was second boots, and was second boots in his films, but then has made a bit of a resurgence recently, and most only she competed on a show called Stay in the Grass, and also competed on the recent Trade season. I think the two reasons are making Stephanie such a verbal underdog. But she definitely has a lot of up and down moments throughout the season, mostly really down, but she never gets up, and then she ends up getting a point where she basically, it was her Baba John that lose the two players, and then they end up going to probably the first fire making challenge in the show's history. And she's definitely winning, and she's definitely, while definitely in the last day long, she ended up being finishing seventh. She was still a great presence throughout. Then we get to the Korra people in general. Where we got Willard, who didn't really honestly get shown much until this boot upset, and it's one of the instances, but don't try to hide that Willard's gonna be the boot. I think other players like Kobe, who basically, and you can tell from when, obviously, when he got to the match that he was probably gonna be the first boot, and well, behold, he was the first boot. You had Janu, who obviously ended up quitting the season because they almost got the best of her and just didn't like the people she was with, which definitely has been kind of a storyline, a more recurring storyline this season that I actually remember it being, actually. I don't remember much from Janu this season, from her quitting, but she was still fun presence throughout. Then you got Greg, who definitely also has good moments as well, and also had an epic blindside this season. And you got Karen, which, as Katie says, Karen sucks. I don't think I can say anymore. Then you also got Jen Lyon, who, by the way, may she rest in peace, because she did pass away recently. Passed away in 2010. And who also played a surprisingly good game up to her boot episode, honestly. Which was, I think was pretty well, and aside from honestly with Martha Gray, was in a good position, actually. Then you also got Key, the runner-up this season, who people did not expect at all this season, and it's pretty obvious that she was going and she was going to win. Then we get to the two main people this season, the two main characters of this season. We got the third place finisher in Ian Rosenberger, who definitely is one of the best players of the season, who definitely had a great social game, definitely played pretty well, and was a pretty integral part of this season, and was shown significantly a lot throughout, especially with his relationships with a lot of the tribes and the players throughout, especially with Katie and Tom. And of course was part of the Fire Me Challenge, which I will get into in a little bit. The obviously is when the game starts to really dip, but then he started to become a big target, and led to a pretty emotional moment at the Fire Me Challenge, which again I will get into. And of course there's the one himself in Tom Westman, who is probably one of the most believable winners on the show's history. I think you kind of tell from a certain point that he was definitely going to be a potential winner candidate, especially when I think he won a lot of media challenges. It was a big target. Didn't see anything was against him, which was a pure likable presence throughout. Well, there were a couple instances where he was probably targeted. He somehow had one of the most dominant games in the show's history, and was just pure likable and won just like that. And 6-1 dose. Yeah, Tom's a great winner, honestly. Tom is a fantastic winner. He definitely is a very deserving winner, honestly. I don't remember what I would rank him in my winner rankings, but Tom is definitely a bright spot of the season. Again, this is a season where you get like so many back and forth, so many lunch shows, because it doesn't put me at the final 7, but basically, they're actually thinking of voting on Tom, actually. But again, like I mentioned before, Karen sucks! Which is a funny line, which if you see the season, you know why that moment's so hilarious. And you also got the great blindside I mentioned earlier, where they actually got rid of a big threat, actually, and managed to get one of his close allies key to vote against them. You got the arc where basically Ian starts to go downhill in terms of his social prize, where basically he had to win the 5-5 war challenge. He took Tom with him, though he was supposed to say Katie. They didn't give each other, and then, I think it was probably going to be the boot, but yeah, Garen sucks. And then Ian made the superstition basically tell Tom, I'm sorry man, I was actually thinking of voting, that would have been super hard. Which, yeah, you don't say that. Which led him to be the target next round, and even Tom voted against him, but then Katie ended up voting against him, and we do end up getting the first instance of the Fire making challenge. Mind you, this was actually the first time we actually had tie votes since Marquesas. Mostly because of that damn Purple Raw tiebreaker. We also got Fire making one before, well, obviously, it's when there was only Barbara John and Stephanie, and then the other became a Fire challenge to be the last one I'm understanding, and to be a sword to Korra. And while they're not most exciting, well, obviously I think the Fire making challenge will obviously get a lot more epic, a lot more in the later seasons. They're still fun to watch, honestly. And of course, you get the epic final immunity challenge. The epic final immunity challenge, which is still barely to this day. Probably still debated with Borneo. It's probably the best final immunity challenge in show's history. As well as the final immunity challenges are not talked about in such high regard nowadays, and it's a good reason, honestly, which obviously they don't really do much with final immunities nowadays. Unfortunately, they don't get invented like they used to be. Like they really don't, honestly. This was an epic one. A true epic, as of course this one lasted for almost 12 goddamn hours. 12 goddamn hours! Well, it was a big battle between Tom and Ian. And I feel like whoever was going to win was going to win the game. And I don't know what Ian was like. I'm sorry for all I did. I'm hate that I did. So I'll drop, you vote me out, and then you can win. But that's pretty much what happened. I obviously I'm exaggerating, but that's kind of what happened. Honestly, because which is probably one of the most compelling arcs in the show's history. That I didn't realize how truly emotional that arc was until I actually watched this season, because it is a pretty emotional moment for Ian, proving that again it can't really get to you and it can't really affect you and everything, and it makes for a pretty poignant emotional moments where Tom Oscar's arm itches, and at the point you can tell that Tom was going to win single-handedly, and I was right. Like I don't think anyone will give up Kane to win, because obviously, I totally forgot how people didn't really like Kane this season. I totally blanked on that, if I'm being honest, which is very interesting. I didn't have totally blanked on that. I didn't know how I feel about Kane, to be honest, but what can you do? Yeah, I think it's all. Yeah. But I think that's all I can really say. To be honest, I did appreciate season a bit more on rewatch, but I think I feel most of the same that I did, honestly. But I do think it's a great season, honestly. I do think it has some great moments. The storyline about Oolong is really compelling. The final media challenges, the back and forth Tom and Ian throughout the season. There's still a lot of greatness in this season. Again, it's probably the closest to the top tier, honestly, but it's still a fantastic season that I've definitely grown to appreciate. So I'm going to give Swire Palau a 9.75 out of 10. It just had a couple of forgettable plays that did prevent it being a 10 out of 10, but it's still a great season. And now we get to Survivor Guatemala. It's pretty much what people consider to be basically the most kind of forgotten season of the show, at least for the longest time, honestly. And again, for the longest time, until Winners of War, there never was anyone that returned for the season. It's not like it was like a Thailand tour, it was like a spy season. There's a more Guatemala show just kind of gone about. The season just kind of came and went. But feels got a lot more love in recent memories, and got a lot more appreciation in recent memories. There's good reason to, whilst my opinion did drop a little bit on this rewatch, I think that Guatemala is still a great season of the show. Most of the location of Guatemala is just incredible. Like the landscapes and the temples and what is that, the film at was just incredible. Well, it's definitely one of the most unique locations, and I never thought, I didn't think to like be watching it, so like, man, remember Robbie used to have diverse locations? Neither did I. Of course, these are them from them bringing back like Stephanie and Bobby John, who basically, of course, were people that were the last two members of Oolong and everything, and they're gonna become the captains on their seasons. And I thought that was a nice choice, honestly. And of course, they both have interesting roles in the season, which I will talk about. And this one of the seasons definitely known for that it was the first season to properly introduce the hidden immunity idol. Yes, this was the season that the hidden immunity idol was introduced. Obviously, it was in different stages and everything, but this was when it was introduced as a game-changing thing. To what obviously is now a common thing in Survivor. It's not one of the biggest things that happens in Survivor is, of course, the idol. This was the season that it was actually introduced. Like, and it was definitely interesting why it was introduced as well. And I'll talk about it in a little bit, but yeah. Again, I think Guatemala overall is still a great season of the show, honestly. I do think that does kind of bring down, I think it does have the best few episodes. Mostly because I think the two boots, honestly, are kind of some most forgettable plays in the show's history. Like, it's just fine, honestly. If I'm pretty sure Nora members who Morgan and Brianna, honestly. I don't think even Brooke to an extent I didn't remember much, but Except for those players, everything else, and maybe it does have patience a little bit pretty much, but everything else I think is great about the season. I think it has a pretty solid cast overall. I mean, again, first got Blake, who basically ends up having one of the most fun downfalls of him. Falls of him basically just talking about his like drunken lies and college, blah blah blah. They got Margaret, who kind of has like a little fun rivalry with John at some points and has a lot of fun back and forth between them. Then got Brian, who honestly is one of the best pretty much characters ever. It's also a shame that we never saw Brian after this season, and for again, he's still very active in the community, from what I remember. But Brian is a fantastic character. He has a pretty interesting outlook, and he's the one that have the whole bait Blake, which I totally blanked on honestly until I rewatched it. It's like, did that actually happen this season? It's what basically he happily top out his directors, which kind of led to him being voted out. And there was Amy, who was also a great character and player for that season as well. Brando has his fun moments. Again, Bob John was great, especially with his rivalry with Jamie throughout the season. Especially with that in that challenge where he goes, rah, rah, ah, ah, ah. Sorry, turn off it. And then there was Jamie, who definitely had an interesting arc throughout the season, who definitely had some back and forth, and of course, it was one of the players that was the definition of paranoid himself out of the game. And I was like, blindsided, nice! And then I thought he built somebody else. And then you got Gary Hookerboom, who wasn't, I believe, an NFL quarterback. Yes, NFL quarterback, but he didn't want people to know about it, so he thought he was going to be Gary Hooker. I don't know what name his license, but he basically was a landscaper, but people call on that, and it made for some really fun moments throughout the season, and he made for a great foil and character throughout. Then there was Judd, who is easily the best character of the season. He's the best part of the season, in my opinion. He just has so many, like, he's someone I probably shouldn't enjoy as much. Again, another character was kind of a shame he didn't return in a future season, because, again, he's just a fantastic character, was fantastic throughout, just has so much back and forth throughout. Has so many, like, fun moments, especially with rival with Judd, a lot of fun confessional moments. And of course, there was his blind side, which is he's the best of the season, and he's definitely one of the biggest bitters, one of the biggest salty. He has one of the biggest saltiest exits in the show's history. But again, I totally blanked on, which is the most like, yeah, I'm glad I decided to do this rewatch series. Yeah, Judd, fantastic character. Sydney was also great as well. Again, not a character I'm surprised we didn't see her return. She was supposed to be on Blood as Water, but never happened. Also, that would be interesting, but well, is what it is, I guess. Lydia was definitely an interesting character throughout Storm, who pretty much was seen as very weak and was one of the more underrated players in the season. Via was a big jury threat for some reason, but her not really seemed like to be a big jury threat. But yeah, Lydia was still pretty well. I still like Lydia, honestly. And then there was Rafe, again, another player that I'm shocked we didn't actually see him make a return. Honestly, like. And after one feeling this, I just found that actually Rafe was actually a showrunner of the show Real Time that came out. The show that has like a couple seasons that I heard about. And apparently he was also the director of Uncharted. Like, I did not know about that until I just looked him up. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's what new for as they always say. But yeah, Rafe is a fantastic character. One of the big gameplay in this season. It's a shame we didn't make a return this season. Now we get to the final series. First up, we have Stephanie, who, of course, she's definitely returned from Strata Palau. For of course, she was one of the worst tribes in the show, the biggest losing tribe in the show's history. And she definitely was doing a lot in this season. She definitely a lot. It's one of the players I think that played well at a point. And for the longest time, I was like, why didn't Stephanie win? But then I watched the season, I was like, oh, that's why Stephanie lost. Because in the merge, she ended kind of sucking as a player. Because she pissed off a lot of her allies, she pissed off a lot of people, even Bob and John, and it's kind of led to her being the boot. It kind of led to her not winning in the end, only seeing Rafe's votes. And again, I remember not understanding about that, but the more I think about it, the more it actually makes sense. And she's a little more whiter in the season than I actually remember her being, honestly, so I kind of attribute to that. But I don't think she played pretty well in the merge, honestly, and most because she, another example of terrible dream management and pissing off people for no particular reason. So even when Hallie's Lydia ends up not voting for her, and even also Judd they all just still voted Stephanie. Even Bobby John. So yeah. Yeah. But I still like Stephanie. I still like Stephanie. She's definitely a big spotlight for a reason, and got a bit of a resurgence recently with her appearance on stage against in the Traders. And honestly, if we do eventually do give a 2020 season, I wouldn't mind seeing Steph plays forever again, honestly. I think she should do well on a return considering it's been years. And then I was the winner herself, Danny Boatwright. Danny. And I still like Danny, honestly. I still like her. And she also is known for basically, obviously, not actually telling people her actual strategy on the season. And of course, most so not telling even the producers about her strategy, so that they will like leak and everything, which it's one of my main for the most interesting TV at times. I won't lie on that. It's actually a strategy. I'm surprised more people don't actually do honestly on the show, honestly, and it makes for it does make interesting moments at times. And Dana was still a good character. She still has great moments throughout the season as well. It's why I'm fine with her winning, honestly. Again, it took to win the war. Again, it took to win the war to finally get stuff from Guatemala, making a goddamn return. And well, yeah, I will say Dana's one disappointed on that season, which again we'll get into when Tupper wins the war. At least Comic Con some representation, at least. Again, for the longest time, this was known for being the most and probably still is known for being the more forgotten season of the show, honestly, which in some ways kind of a shame, but in some ways it's kind of up to what. I would say aside from a few moments, there really isn't much that really stands out about the season. There isn't much that like pops or whatever. Of course, there also great moments. Like you got the whole rivalry with Jamie, Bob, and John in the episode 6 where they end up like like you mentioned earlier. You got the whole Jamie blind side. You got the Babe Blake thing I mentioned earlier. You got Judd being so salty about his exits, and then you got to fight another. You also got another amazing Fighting Media challenge. It was basically Danny and just kind of steamrolling because they don't make kind of fair for Stephanie and Rafe, honestly. And then seeing Stephanie's emotion when she ends up dropping is just like heartbreak. And everyone was like, "Hey, Danny, I know we have to be found together, but you feel throw me out if you want to, because I know Stephanie wants it more." And that's what happens. Yeah, very emotional. Yeah, you get some very emotional moments. But again, aside from those moments, there's not much that really sticks out, honestly. Like, it does pace drags a little bit in the pre-merge, and again, you get some most forgettable pre-merge players ever on this season. But again, the location is great. You still get the great moments. There's some great back and forth in this season that do still make the season still fun to watch. To while my opinion did drop a little bit on this season, I still will make it come out of Guatemala, honestly. Even though I don't think, except for those moments, it's one that really pops, honestly, which kind of will let the season kind of be a little more forgotten about. But in the end, I am going to give Survivor Guatemala a 9.25 out of 10.